So I would say not every classic cocktail is really right for an upgrade or an improvement. Sometimes the original, which might be only 2 ingredients, is easy to make and it's delicious, and you should just grab that and take that cocktail. I'm thinking of this whiskey cocktail. It's called the Hunter, but it was revived in the 1980s in Japan, and there was a bit of a respecking of it, and I don't necessarily agree with it. It makes it more complicated and it changes the flavor profile, and I don't know if it needs all that messing with. And so we're gonna go through the story of that cocktail. We're gonna go through the specs of that cocktail. I got a pro tip for you here that gives you my own little possible, maybe you need it, maybe you don't, improvement. I think I stayed true to the cocktail though. And so stick around here on Tuesday Night Cocktail Club. This is the cocktail club that meets weekly to share stories and pro tips for your home bar. No paywall, no dues, updates every Tuesday. So in the 1980s, the bartender in Japan, and I'm going to mess up this name, Hidetsugu Ueno-san, at a bar in Tokyo called High Five, revived this cocktail, the Hunter cocktail. And what he did was he swapped out some of the cherry heering, which is a Danish liqueur, cherry liqueur, for Luxardo. And I have to say, you so rarely ever use the cherry heering in cocktails. And, so if you got a cocktail that calls for it, I think it really pairs well. I mean, why not use it? And so that's my take on it. But the original cocktail was in the 1908 cocktail book, Recipe for Mixed Drinks and When and How to Serve Them. And this is by Jack Gorshuko. Lots of hard names for me. Anyways, not really much is known about that cocktail. I looked around, I didn't see it in any of my other books back from that era. And so, maybe it's a one-off or a two-off, but it was revived. And so we're gonna make it here. And so I've got both the original version and the modern update version from the 1980s in the description. But so let's go through the build here. And so it calls for 2 ounces of rye whiskey. And I've got that right here. And I've got, it calls for half an ounce of the cherry heering. The modern version calls for orange bitters. I'm going to put a little orange bitters in too. I put in 2 dashes, he calls for 3. But I think that would really help this along too. So I give it a little stir it here. And then I'm going to pour it into my chilled glass here. And there you have it. On a cold day, you come home, this is a delicious cocktail. It softens the rye. It makes it rounder. You don't necessarily taste the cherry, but it definitely makes it softer. I think the bitters also help it to call out some flavor. It's not the greatest cocktail I've ever had, but like I said, on a cold day, an easy mixing cocktail. Plus, if you've ever bought the cherry heering, you're always looking for a reason to use it. So now I've got one. And so here's my pro tip here, which is for a subtle cocktail like this, where you just get some flavor from that heering and you get some flavor from the bitters. I don't know, I think it might be fun to try to smoke this. The smoked cherry, smoky cherry flavor, really seems to be a good combo. And so I've got my homemade contraption here to smoking cocktails, and I use it for maybe, 10 seconds. 20 would have been better, but maybe 10 or 20 seconds. And you'll see the smoke accumulating in the bottom of the glass. And, that's my pro tip, to give it a little smoke. It's really a perfect cocktail to smoke. It's very light as a cocktail. The smoking really gives it that smokiness, and so it gives it another element to it. I actually think it's a perfect example of when to smoke, because what it does is you have a very light, the cherry hearing softens the taste of the rye, so it's much less biting and gives you the perfect palate for your smoking. I smoked it maybe for 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds would give it more smoke. I wouldn't do anything more than 20 or 30 seconds. It really depends on your smoker. You got to always, test it out. But in my homemade contraption, it seemed to work just fine, and I got a nice amount of smoke with those oak chips. And there you have it. That's the Hunter cocktail. I see the desire to play with it and to add the Luxardo to it. But it's really nice in the winter because it's just so simple. It's cold. You're watching the football game. You're reading the Sunday paper or whatever in the afternoon. That's what I'm doing now. I just came in from shoveling here in DC. These are my club notes. And so that's what's going on locally. I still owe everybody a New Year's cocktail, so that's coming up. And there you have it, the Tuesday Night Cocktail Club. Join the club, hit subscribe, no paywall, no dues, and I will see you all next week.